This video will discuss the centralized solution to the supply chain coordination problem. Before moving on to the centralized solution, you need to be sure that you have the correct decentralized solution, which is displayed on the screen. The retailer order quantity under these assumptions was 866 at the best solution, and the wholesaler order multiple was 3. There is a separate tab in the template that's named Centralized. Looking at this tab, all of the assumptions for cost and demand are the same. We're dealing with the same two-level supply chain. In fact, the cost formulas for the centralized model will be the same. They'll be reviewed here to be sure that we have the correct ones. The holding cost again is the average inventory, which is Q times 0.5, or Q divided by 2, times the annual unit holding cost. The ordering cost are the number of orders per year times the fixed ordering cost. The number of orders per year is annual demand divided by order quantity, and then this is multiplied by fixed ordering cost. Recall that Q equals 1,000 and N equals 3 are simply starting values, and these will be adjusted to find the best solution. The total costs then for the retailer are the holding cost plus the ordering cost. When examining the wholesaler cost, we keep in mind that the first retailer order quantity is ordered by the wholesaler from its upstream supplier and then passed directly on to the retailer. So the wholesaler's holding costs are, again, Q times 0.5, or Q divided by 2, but then this is multiplied times N minus 1, the 1 representing the first Q units of inventory that are passed on directly to the retailer and never held at the wholesaler level. This is multiplied by the wholesaler's annual unit holding cost. We keep in mind that the order size for the retailer will be Q, but the order size for the wholesaler will be N times Q. This means that the number of orders for the wholesaler can be smaller than the number of orders per year for the retailer if a multiple of more than 1 is used. The number of orders for the wholesaler is D divided by N times Q. To get ordering costs for the wholesaler, this is multiplied times the fixed ordering cost. Total costs for the wholesaler are the holding cost plus the ordering cost. The supply chain total costs are total costs for the retailer plus total costs for the wholesaler. Here's where the centralized model differs from the decentralized. In the centralized model, we make the assumption that the retailer and wholesaler work together to choose a combination of order quantity and order multiple that will minimize the total supply chain cost. This changes the objective in the problem. In Solver, the objective will now be the total supply chain costs, and that objective will be minimized. Because the retailer and wholesaler are choosing the combination of the order multiple and order quantity together that minimizes supply chain costs, these both become changing cells or decision variables. In terms of constraints, we assume both the order quantity and order multiple are greater than 1, greater than or equal to 1. But we add a constraint that the wholesaler order multiple is an integer. And an integer constraint is added by using the drop-down box in the middle of the constraint window and selecting int, which stands for integer. We use the GRG nonlinear solving method for this problem. Solvers found the optimal solution. If we have difficulty using Solver to get the solution, quite often the best method is to insert very large starting values for the order quantity and order multiple, and then use Solver again to be sure it finds the same solution. Sometimes with integer constraints, Solver can be sensitive to the starting values. The best retailer order quantity in the centralized mode is larger at 1155 units, and the wholesaler order multiple is smaller at 2, as compared to the decentralized case. We need to now compare the centralized and decentralized solutions. There's a table at the bottom of the centralized tab that can be done to make this used to make this comparison. The cost in the decentralized model are linked to the other tab. So the total cost for the retailer is $51.96. The total cost in the decentralized mode for the wholesaler was $54.84.83, which means the total cost in the supply chain is the sum of those two values. In the centralized mode, the retailer's total cost is higher. The wholesaler's total cost, however, is lower. The total supply chain overall has a lower cost at $10,392. On the row labeled Difference, we'll calculate the difference between the centralized mode and the decentralized mode. Centralized minus decentralized. Copy this to the wholesaler and supply chain column. What we can see by examining this difference is that the retailer is not better off in the centralized mode. In fact, the retailer would like to use the decentralized model. The wholesaler, however, is better off in the centralized mode. Because of this, we would expect the wholesaler to have to pay an incentive to the retailer to participate in the centralized solution. One possibility is for the wholesaler to pay the retailer a rebate each time it orders. The orders per year in the centralized model are the annual demand divided by the best centralized retailer order quantity. There are approximately 13 orders per year in this model. If the retailer's difference is divided among the 13 or so orders per year, this would be the per order rebate that's required for the retailer to participate. This incentive is paid by the wholesaler. Let's see what happens in the coordinated mode if the retailer receives the per order rebate and the wholesaler pays the per order rebate. In the coordinated mode, then, the retailer, by using the centralized order quantity, would assume the centralized cost, but these costs would be offset by the orders per year times the per order rebate. They receive this as an incentive from the wholesaler, so it reduces the centralized costs. The thing to notice is that in the coordinated mode, after receiving this rebate, the retailer is just as well off as it would be in the decentralized mode. The wholesaler will experience the centralized cost, but will have to pay the per order rebate times the orders per year as an extra cost to the retailer. The supply chain costs are then the total coordinated costs for the retailer and wholesaler added together. Here are the things to notice about the coordinated cost. The retailer is just as well off as it is in the decentralized mode. The wholesaler is not as well off as it is in the centralized mode, but it still fares better than it would in the decentralized mode. The supply chain total cost in the coordinated mode are equal to the supply chain cost in the centralized mode. So by using the per order rebate, the costs in the coordinated mode are brought in line with centralized costs, and both parties have an incentive to participate and coordinate the supply chain.